All right, everybody, we are back again for another episode of the Coach's Compass. Now, remember, I don't know what episode it is. I just continue to record, continue to bring on cool guests from all across the world. Now, remember, hit that like, subscribe, comment button down below so we can have this thing continue to grow and continue to bring on cool guests from all over the world. Now, we got another special guest with me here tonight. I've got Coach Jeff Wenberg, right? He's helping online coaches fix their offers and increase their revenue. Coach, how did you get even started on this side of things of coaching?
Well, like it actually all kind of started, man, like Jesus, this is probably 15 years ago now, but I got fired for the first time by, I was at a temp job and I was just like calculating how many hours I would have to work to pay off my car. And it was like a lot. And it was like, oh man, this is just like the worst thing. So I thought I was emailing my wife how dumb I thought the job was and everything. And then actually I ended up sending it to my boss. And so, needless to say, they fired me. And that was the only time I've ever been fired. But it was actually kind of like the best thing that ever happened because it sent me off on this path. And from there, like I started my own business doing videos and voiceovers. And then through that ended up moving into a position at a company called Lead Pages, which was like a landing page software. And I started seeing like, wow, all of this like really cool marketing stuff happening there. And I helped grow that company to like 45,000 paying customers. And in the time I had to work with a lot of our users to like figure out their funnels and their marketing and stuff. And so that was really the start of it, is like just seeing like, wow, this is really fun and it makes a huge impact on these businesses. And I seem to be pretty good at it. So like, let me just keep doing this. And so since then I moved up to other companies and all that kind of stuff. And then also have just kind of always been, on my own working with clients who, I just kind of jive with and like really have like good energy and all that kind of stuff, and that need help with just communicating what it is that they do so people actually get it and want to buy it.
I mean, you kind of got to say that email was meant to happen, right?
Yeah.
Like you accidentally you were supposed to send it to your wife, but accidentally goes to your boss. It's almost like it pushed you into the right direction and where you wanted to head into. But you talk about like how to tell people what you are doing and get people to buy into it. How hard is it for coaches to kind of understand that side of things when it comes to, because we talk about the leads, the algorithms and all that stuff, that doesn't play such a huge part into how they close out these sales.
Yeah. And so this is the thing that I've noticed with anybody that's like helping somebody else do something to like achieve transformation. They're usually like really good at doing that. They just kind of suck at communicating their like the transformation. And usually that's where I work with people, because like I've done the whole gamut of like, let's work on your funnel, let's work on your ads, let's work on whatever. And it always comes back to this: if you aren't communicating in a way that your ideal person like instantly is like, oh my gosh, like that's exactly what I've been looking for, or like, wow, I think that could really solve my problem, they're just going to move past you and find somebody else who communicates better. That's why we see a lot of times coaches struggle to get clients, because even though like they're like, I could help this person, let me help you, they're just doing a poor job of communicating the value. And usually that comes from, as the coach, we're speaking from the root cause and from already having solved the issue, when the people that we're speaking to may or may not even be aware of that root cause or why they're having the problems that they're having. And so really the thing that we have to look at is just like, we got to bridge that gap from where they're at to where you're at and help them see like, wow, if I just go over this bridge, this person could like really bring me to the next level in whatever that might be.
How do you bridge the gap though with that, the trust factor in coaches, having people that DM them, email them and say like, hey, I can help you grow your business, but not fully trust in it and like get them to like improve to them that what you have done works and get them to buy into yourself. You know what I mean? Because I think that's another hard part with us in this coaching world. Because you mostly work with online coaching. So if you're not like in a brick and mortar, like it's a little bit different of a situation where sometimes these people that are working only online have been burnt, right? But then there's the flip side of it too,
Yes.
right? The coaches out there that maybe don't know as much as they're perceiving to know online.
Totally.
And when do you kind of draw the line like, hey, like I can't really help you?
Yeah.
So that's a twofold question right
Yeah.
there.
So yeah, definitely a couple answers. So the first thing is, you really have to connect with, and this goes for online, offline, but like connect with people where they're at and like with their specific situation, and show that you understand that by how you talk about things. And so this example I heard from a mentor of mine just like totally makes sense. So if you were going to like a doctor's office and you like, let's say your elbow was broken and you've gone to a doctor and they're like, I don't know, maybe it's this. And you're like, I don't think so. Maybe, and you like go to doctor after doctor, nobody can fix it. But then you go to the fourth doctor, let's say, and he's like, let me ask you this. Like when you move your head to the right, does it hurt your elbow? And you're like, oh my God, yes. How did you know that? And then all of a sudden he's like, oh, if you laugh really hard, does it make your elbow hurt? And you're like, oh my God, yes. How did you know that? And he starts describing all of the symptoms that you're having with your elbow. All of a sudden he's going to be like, totally. Yeah. So what's actually happening is you have like a torn ligament in your shoulder that's pulling on your elbow when you do those things. You're going to be like, oh my gosh, no way. Like, and what do you think the next logical question would be? Exactly. Like if you connect with them and you describe their symptoms, they're going to assume that you have the answer. And then to the second part of your question is how do you build that trust? That's the first way, is showing that you really, truly, deeply understand it by not like necessarily saying anything other than describing their symptoms so deeply that they're like, dude, how did you know that? Second is then follow it up with like case studies or testimonials or anything that shows that, wow, look at the results that this guy got for this other person.
Yeah.
And it's like literally like that simple. I guess I should say it's that simple, but not always that easy.
Right. It sounds easier. The way you say it makes it sound really, really easy. But, I mean, like for coaches, I mean, you would think that they would have pretty good personalities, right? Because they're dealing with people on a daily basis. What is kind of the biggest factor and like the missing piece that you see for a lot of these coaches that is hindering them from actually making these sales and making a lot of money? Because there's people out there that need help, right? There are people out there that always want to live healthy and are looking for coaches all the time, everywhere you go, right? No matter what we do, like in the fitness industry, coaches are always needed. But what is like hurting our coaches besides the storytelling side? Like why aren't people being successful in this business?
Yeah, I mean, there's I think I have a lot of thoughts on it, but I think it really boils down to maybe like two things. Number one, they're not thinking like a business owner; they're thinking like a coach, and that it doesn't sound like, oh, that's like a whole different. But if you're thinking like a business owner or a CEO or like, I don't know, imagine whatever your goal is. Like if you want to be a 7-figure CEO or whatever, you're going to make decisions way different than if you're just like a solo coach who's trying to get clients. You're going to be thinking way bigger. You're going to be asking bigger questions, like just you're going to be elevating the type of things that you're trying to do. Whereas if you're like, man, I'm just a coach, I'm just going to get clients, like there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with either one. But I think that's the first thing, is they a lot of times are thinking too small and they're just like, I'm just a coach, I'm just trying to get clients. So you're going to ask different questions and you're going to be thinking way smaller. Even if you just elevate to the next level of coach, that's going to change the game for you, and be thinking of like what somebody from that next level would be doing and how they would be like. A mentor of mine, he always talks about be to have. You have to be the person to and do the things that they do to have the things that they have. And that's really where it starts. I believe that I am a perfect, like, I don't know, not a perfect example. Like I am an example of that. Like when I started thinking like the person that I wanted to be and behaving like them, I started changing my behaviors. I started doing things differently. Instead of just being like small businessman just by myself, it was like, how could I make this thing happen that I want to do, versus like, oh man, I can't do that because X, Y, and Z. And it's like, your questions change. And then the second thing is really just kind of what we already talked about, is the thing holding them back is just being able to really communicate the symptoms, that you understand the symptoms that they're experiencing, whether that be, like, hey, my, knees hurt because I'm overweight, or my business is failing because of this. But like, it's really like a nuanced sort of dance to communicate that in a way that feels good to the person. Like if you think about anybody that you've bought from, they've done this. They've been like, anybody that you've signed up with as a coach, it's like, man, they really just seem to get it, and like I want to work with them. That is what they have done, is they've connected with you. They've made it very clear that they understand your problem, and they know how to get you, like they show you the path that you can follow to get to where you want to go. I think those are the two main things.
Yeah. I think that's a really hard thing for a lot of coaches to kind of jump into and trust from somebody maybe coming from the outside. So say I'm, a coach that's going to be starting working with you. What
Yeah.
is kind of that, initial onboarding process? Like, what are you going through to kind of build that trust and kind of show them like what you're talking about? But also, what are kind of some of the hard facts that we're looking at to kind of show them the trajectory of like how they're going to grow?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, like when I first started working with somebody, like, and this is online, of course, but like I'll look at, okay, let me see where you're driving traffic to, like, and that could be just from social media, that could be from wherever. And a lot of times when I go see like their first page, it's super confusing. And I'm like, I know what you do because we've talked, but like if I didn't have that context, I would be like, I don't actually know what I'm looking at. Like, what do you do? Most people just don't make it clear enough of like what the transformation they provide is. And so usually that is the fastest way to just show like my value is being like, okay, look, here is what I'm seeing. And it took me, like I had a potential client I was talking to, and I went to look at his homepage, and he's like, yeah, this is where I was sending all my traffic to, and I didn't get any conversions. And I was like, that's likely because it took me until halfway down the page to even figure out what the offer you were trying to sell was. This should have been like right at the top of the page. So I got like, oh, this is like tutoring. Cool. Okay, cool. Like I do need tutoring. So now tell me more about it. But it was like buried under all of this like fluff. And that's a lot of times what happens there. And if you can just pull the fluff out and be like, hey, here is what we need to have front and center, usually just doing that is enough to show like, oh, okay, he knows what he's talking about. And so like if you're more in a brick and mortar, it's same type of thing. What's the fastest way you can get somebody a quick win? It doesn't have to be like from A to Z. It could be from A to A.1, but something that they can experience. So they're like, oh my gosh, wow, this guy's awesome. Or this girl's awesome. Just get them something quick, like right away, so that it just cements their decision that they invested with you.
What are you kind of seeing, for even for brick and mortar online coaches, like kind of the best kind of form of lead generation and kind of helping them to get more, consultations or people to, just leads in general?
Yeah. Yeah. So it does kind of, for me at least, start with, okay, their offer. Like, what are they ultimately trying to sell? Okay. And what you want to do is work backwards from that. So then things you're giving away all tie into your, like your final offer. So it's not like you're just coming up with random things and then it's like, but I do have this offer. And then you have to try and figure out how to piece that all together. So like if you know what you're trying to sell, just work backwards and maybe like, okay, so if it's like for me, it's like essentially marketing coaching, messaging and positioning. I could take, you know, one of my worksheets that I give people, pull that out of my program and then give that away as a lead magnet. And then it all ties, like it ties right into my offer. So it wouldn't be weird if I said, hey, this comes right out of my program. I give this to every one of my clients. Take this. And then if you do want more help with this, I do have the program that this goes with. So see how it's like just a natural flow through to that conversation. I think usually that's the thing that is missing is it doesn't really flow through. And the second part of that, I would say, is more like think through that whole working backwards from your offer, but then like, what are the things that every one of my ideal clients, the clients that I really love to work with, what are the problems that they're experiencing? And like, what's something little that I have that could get them that A to 8.1 transformation? And then just give them that as your lead magnet. Because then all of a sudden it would be like, oh my gosh, like this free thing is amazing. Like I've gotten a lot of like, I don't know, like chat GPT prompts or worksheets or templates, like Excel sheets or anything like that from various people that I follow. And a lot of times it's like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. Amazing. This little thing that was free. Imagine how good their like paid stuff is if this free thing is that good.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, if you love it, the free part of it, why wouldn't you
Yeah.
sign up to get more?
Yeah, totally.
But how do you get coaches to understand that giving away something free doesn't mean that it's going to be bad? Right? Because I think from like the coach's mindset of like, okay, I just put in all this work to build out maybe this huge program or this huge article or whatever program to teach other coaches or whatever it may be. You want me to take a piece of it and give it away for free? Like all these hours I put into it, and you want me to take a piece of my hard work and give it away for free? How do you get them to understand it? Like he's going to actually leverage you in a better part.
Yep.
Like you said yourself, like you might take a piece out of your workbook and set it off and hey, say, hey, like there's more to this.
Yeah. So I feel like all of my answers have been two-parters, but it is another two-parter. So the first thing is they're going to get it, and most likely they'll be able to mess with it and stuff, but they're not going to know exactly how to do what you do. So they're going to be like, they're going to run into roadblocks and they're going to be like, shoot, what do I do now? And then it's like a natural progression to just be like, let me just reach out and see if they can help me. Because this came from whoever you got it from. Your first reaction would be like, I wonder if they have any other stuff on their site. Wonder if they have any content. And they're going to go on a deep dive. And all that's going to do is just indoctrinate them more into your methodologies and all that kind of stuff. And it really, there's no downside to it. The second thing is what you want to also think through is give them the what, not the how. So like you're giving them something that they, like I said, they can get it and work through it, but you're telling them what to do. You're not necessarily telling them how to do everything. That's why they're going to run into roadblocks and then they're going to need to come to you to get the how. So that's how you leverage it by giving away your stuff. Like it's not give them everything and give it all for free. It's give them something that they can get a little bit of a taste, but they're going to run into roadblocks because they don't have all of the industry secrets that you have.
So I think, an important question for some of the newer coaches maybe that are
Yeah.
coming into online coaching or coming into just, the brick and mortar side, what would be your best piece of advice for them?
Just coming into coaching.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I would say like just get some clients, whether that's free or paid, so you can experience what it's like working with people. And more importantly, you can get testimonials, like get them really good results. So they'll give you testimonials about like the results they got and how awesome you are and all of that kind of stuff, because that's going to speak so much louder than anything you could say. So that would probably be like my first piece of advice for new coaches coming into the space.
My next question comes from, one of our former coaches that we had on before, because we love to keep
Yeah.
this rolling from coaches that we had. How do you handle the work-life balance and all the stuff that comes with the business at the same time?
That's like the hardest thing ever. I don't have this all figured out by any means.
I wish we did. But
No,
that would
man.
take away the fun of it, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, fun. I don't know if that's the right word, but like sometimes it does feel fun, which is always like, okay, like I feel like I got it. But honestly, I like the only answer I have is just trying to split things like, so like as an example, like my day typically looks like I get up around 5:30, work out first thing, and have been doing that so I can get that in before like the day kind of gets all crazy. And then like after that, I'll do like a little bit of work on my program Offer Evolution and things I'm working on there. Then the kids get up and I like do the whole like breakfast, and if it's school, get them ready. Or now for summer, it's like hang out until I have to kind of start work, and then go work, kind of take breaks. And it's one of those like have rough guidelines on your time for the day so that you can kind of follow a format and you're not just kind of like willy-nilly like I'm going to kind of do this or I feel like doing this. It's like you don't have to make those decisions every day or about like what should I do right now. It's like, oh well, it's 1:00, this is what I always do at 1:00.
Yeah, I think that's the hard thing for a lot of the coaches in the industry is learning how to say no and figure out that work life. But I don't
Yeah.
have to figure it out. I don't know
Yeah.
how to figure out all that stuff. But before we get out of here, what was one thing that you want us to ask our next guest that comes on?
So I'm all about simplicity and simplifying and all of that kind of stuff. I would say, what's one thing you could do to simplify your offer?
And what would that one thing be for you?
I think the one thing that would be for me to simplify the offer, that is a really good question. I think, gosh, because it's already pretty simple, but to make it even more simple, I would say probably deliver less stuff, but make the value of the stuff I do deliver more valuable.
Coach, now before we get out of here, tell us how our listeners and the other coaches out there can find more of you and get in contact with you so they can get some help on how to grow their businesses, how to get some more revenue, and honestly live an easier life with more money in it.
Yeah, that is the goal, right?
Yes.
That's why I do this, is like, I just want to like see people be so much more happy doing stuff that they actually like. And then that's just going to rub off on everyone else that they touch. So yeah, if you have any interest in chatting, talking shop, or whatever, checking out content, jeffwenberg.com. Wenberg is how you spell my last name. That's my website, and I'm mainly on Instagram at I am Jeff Wenberg.
Love it, coach. And we're out of here.
Thanks for having me.